All right. Let's see. Hey, I'm on Instagram. Uh, let's see. Let's see. I should have already had this on here. No. Oh. All these titles. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to make sure we good on YouTube then. Okay. And I'm clicking everything but what we supposed to be clicking. I'm struggling here, y'all. Let's see. All right, it's showing we live. All right, we'll be right back. Uh, if I can get to the song. There we go.
Kofi. Get that sound? Turn it up.
We gone now. Y'all wasn't able to hear it?
It was real low. Normally it'd be like.
I don't know what it was. I might have been. I didn't have it turned all the way up.
It was that thing turned up. It was that thing cranked up.
Yeah, peace. Black African Power. Back to the Lord. I'm thinking I'm on the Warrior Scholar podcast. But peace, everybody. Welcome back to the Griots Podcast. We'll let our beautiful sister introduce herself first, and then we'll introduce ourselves after her.
Hey, yo. That's my favorite part. What up, good and wonderful people? My name is Dr. Ashley Wade. I am a pharmacist. I'm a curator. I'm an author. I'm the chief executive of a silly magazine. Whoop, whoop. Just dropped that next issue, so I'm excited about that. Let's see, I'm a book club curator, community and literacy advocate, and just recently got this nice little award. They say I'm an ordinary woman doing extraordinary things, so I'm blessed. So just add that to the resume. Good to see y'all today.
Yes, congratulations, sis. Congratulations on your
Go ahead, LaDarius.
On your award.
What's up, everybody? My name is LaDarius. I'm a father of 2 beautiful kids. I'm a writer. I'm an artist. I'm a motion graphic artist. I'm a lifelong learner. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Excuse me.
Yo. My name is Sean P from the Sean P Experience Podcast. I am a podcast host of various platforms. I am a 15-time published author. I am a poet. I am a public speaker. I am an MC. I am a host. I am a custodian of information for the community, and much, much more. And get the ball to my man, the head Thundercat, the Red Ranger, Kofi.
Peace. My name is Kofi Piesie. I'm a writer, an author, publisher, ghostwriter, public speaker, lecturer, chief executive of a silly magazine, organizer of the Ubuntu youth group, amongst other things. I know I'm forgetting some things. I'll say poet, even though I don't like to say poet. Me and Sean has a poetry book out, but in order for me to confess me doing things, I like to be a practitioner of those things. I mean, executing those things a whole lot before I say I'm something. But that is me in a nutshell. So let's get into the Griots Podcast. First up is my brother Seanathan Polidore with the opening segment. of the podcast. We're gonna get later on, once we get through the formalities, we'll get jump directly into the discussion.
Yo, yo, yo. Ready for the opening segment. So this month we're celebrating Women's History Month, right? So I want to jump off celebrating the sister. I am talking about the poetess June Jordan. June Jordan, right? So she is a prolific author. She authored well over 27 books of various genres. But she was not boxed into one thing. She covered a wide range of things in her writing. She's also a champion of Black English, remind you of Zora Neale Hurston with her advocacy of AAVE, saying that our language is not broken and we have our own dialect and our own system that govern our language versus these other people's language, right? She also created Poetry for the People. So at the university level, she spearheaded and founded Poetry for the People. This is not just a regular class. This is a political movement. So through her class and using poetry, she got her students infused in the political movement of that time. She also, before they had the word intersectionality, way before that, she was already thinking on intersectional level, thinking about environmental design, and she also had a real mind for global struggles. She was a major supporter of Palestine. And you notice that Angela Davis, Asada Shakur, many of our heroes from the past were always aware of what's going on, taking place in Palestine, right? She was very global minded, ahead of her time. And so that's the last bit on our honoring historical figure, June Jordan. This is National Poetry Month, April. So June Jordan is our national honorary person this month.
All right, peace, 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 peace to the sister. All right, now that we have the opening segment out of the way, I guess I'll get into the griot segment real quick. For those who may not know what a griot or a grioti is, this is the time to learn what a griot and grioti is, right? So, what is a grioti or a griotis? Unique to Western Africa, the griot or jolly professional in companies many roles pronounced griot have been referred to as historians and storytellers, but there is no real word in the English language that include all of their functions. A traditional griot could be everything from recounting history to composing music to teaching students to acting as a diplomat. They are genealogists, historians, spokespersons, ambassadors, musicians, teachers, warriors, interpreters, praise singers, masters of ceremonies, advisors, negotiators, and mediators. Not every griot or grioti does all of these things, but these are all examples and the functions the griot or the griotis professional embodies, right? So these are all of the attributes of a griot and a grioti. I know a lot of us know that, they always say they are storytellers, but griots are more than just storytellers. Sean, you had something?
Yeah, man, I want to take a small moment to shout out Dr. Wade and her being highlighted and awarded last night because I think it's important. People see us on these airwaves every month for years at a time. They see us our individual social media platforms, but Dr. Wade doing that is a testament to the things that we do off the camera, things that we do off the mic, things that we do off of these platforms, man, doing real work on the streets, in the community, with the people, celebrate Dr. Ashley Wade.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, just had a birthday too, by the way. Just had a birthday. All the
Mhm.
flowers, all the flowers, all the things. Tell us about it, tell us about it.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm so grateful. Thank y'all and thank you for calling that out and giving me a moment right here. I'm still unpacking it just because, I'll talk to y'all about like the format of it and the why later. The event is called Ordinary Women Doing Extraordinary Things. So just to be in the space with people who are ordinary seemingly but are doing amazing things, it just puts me in a very, very gracious and humble move. So I'm just really thankful to be seen, because like, in our role as a Griot, we don't do things to be seen. We do things for the people, for the culture, with that in mind. And then if somebody sees us and gives us accolades, we appreciate it, but that's not the driver. So it definitely feels good to be seen and noticed and now recognized, for doing a little razzle in the community. So thank y'all so much for your support near and far, for real. And especially my tribe, Sean P, LaDarius, Kofi. Appreciate y'all for holding me down for real. For real, for real.
No doubt.
And
You
giving me
deserve
space.
it.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much, man.
you deserve it. You put in so much work. You do. You put in so much work. You inspire so many people. You definitely inspire me and these brothers on the panel. So salute to you. And we were just talking about that on the on the show week 4 last. With the other beautiful sisters on the panel, we was talking about legacy. Some of us were saying, one of them was saying that she don't want her name, if her name is on mic, but that's not what she doing it for. But I'm saying, just like Harriet Tubman and these other women that we talked about, they didn't either, but they left a legacy behind. So with their legacy being behind, there's gonna be people who always are reference those people who left those great legacies behind, who set the right example, you know what I'm saying, who affected some type of positive change, you know what I'm saying. So you are definitely standing on the shoulders of all of those women that we mentioned on the last show, and you're carving out your own lane where you will be forever remembered for the work that you have done, you know what I'm saying? So shout out again to you, Dr. Ashley Wade, for the work that you are doing and going to continue to do, right? Next segment is our fellow griot, LaDarius, with the uh, Black Invention segment, and then we're going to get into it.
Today we are highlighting our sister, Alice Augusta Ball.
Mm-hmm.
She was a brilliant chemist whose groundbreaking work changed the course of medical history. Born on July 24th, 1892, in Seattle, Washington, she grew up in a family that valued education and intellectual curiosity, which sparked her early passion for science. Like, her father was a lawyer and a newspaper editor, and her mother was a photographer. And her grandfather was a photographer, and fun fact about him, his name was James Presley Ball Sr., and he took some pictures of Frederick Douglass in the 19th century. Then she went on to study at the University of Washington, becoming the first Black woman to earn a degree in pharmaceutical chemistry there. And later, she was the first to earn her master's at the University of Hawaii. At just 23 years old, Ball developed what became known as the Ball method, the first effective treatment for leprosy, by chemically modifying an oil called Kalmugra oil so it could be easily injected and absorbed. She gave hope to thousands of patients who had previously been isolated and left without a cure. Her work was a life-saving breakthrough. Tragically, Ball died at just 24 years old, and her discovery was wrongfully claimed by others for decades. Yet her legacy endured. Today, Alice Ball is rightfully recognized as a pioneer whose innovation and brilliance saved lives and reshaped modern medicine. And she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in 2022 for her groundbreaking work.
Shout out to that sister, man.
That's incredible.
Yes, indeed. I'm gonna have to get her name again from you, because I definitely want to do some more research on that sister. And that's what it's all about. On this podcast here, we always are learning from each other, man. We always bringing something out, man. Alice Ball, I see it in that all the time. So I love this podcast because, like I said, we are all learning from each other. And then each show, we don't know what each person is gonna, present. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always excited about it. I'm a teacher, but I'm also a student, right? So I definitely appreciate what we be doing on this podcast. Before we get into the discussion, right? Let's go into let's plug a few things, you know what I'm saying? Because we all are working, we all are doing some things. So let's plug a few things, and then we'll jump directly into the discussion at hand. Let me see if I can pull these things up. You know, Dr. Ashley Wade just mentioned we just put out the SLA magazine. So here's the SLA magazine, feeding the culture, right? A taste of culture, a movement of unity. Right. So this is the seventh issue, right? So we're coming along, man, with these issues. You know what I'm saying? We on our seventh issue, and everybody on this panel is a contributor to making this magazine continue to exist, you know, and continue to bring, you know what I'm saying, the most powerful, most impactful, you know what I'm saying, detailed information within this selling magazine, right? All the way, you know what I'm saying, from health and healing to talking about technology to education to the editor note to giving a spotlight to the youth to exhibit their skills, their writing skills, entertaining, the entertainment section, the music section, the career section, the poetry section, among other things. This is jam packed with so much information, y'all. So check that out again. It's our online magazine, the Acele Magazine. Our principles, our culture is culture, creativity, and community, and we definitely deliver that every issue of the magazine. Right? If you don't know, this is also Poetry Month, so available now. It came out March the 3rd, 2026. This is me and Seanathan Polidore new poetry book, right? If you don't got it, go copy it. It's on Same Tree, Different Brands Publishing.com. Our other two hosts on the panel, LaDarius contributed a piece to the magazine, so he was a guest poet in here, and our beautiful sister, Dr. Ashley Wade, who wrote the introduction. She is now the introduction queen. That's what we need to start calling
Yes,
her.
she is. She sets it down.
Yes.
Set it down.
I enjoy it and I appreciate it.
Yes.
I want to say something to that, Kofi. For those that's listening, so in my local area, I attend open mic and slam poetry all the time, right? And so this month, on the 21st, I am the featured guest poet for the first time ever in my life. I'm the guest poet with Tales of a Griot. It's gonna be a guest poet slam, open slam, and also a book signing in the same night. And for the past 4 or 5 years, just watching other guest poets fly from somewhere else or drive from somewhere else, and for the first time seeing myself on the flyer and in the promo, is like it's a very surreal feeling, man. So I can't wait to do this, man. My first time ever doing something like this, and I'm excited, man.
Yes, yes, yes. Congratulations, brother. Congratulations. Right.
Congratulations, Sean Pete.
Yeah. The Cele Magazine shirts we talked about. If you want Cele Magazine shirts, same place, same tree, different brands, publishing.com. Go to the branding section and get you a hoodie, a shirt, a beanie. Um, they all in different colors. I'm just showing this the Griot podcast shirts. Also the hoodies. I got the hoodie on right now because it's cold outside. Got the
I
hoodie
need my
on.
hoodie on right now. I
Yeah,
feel up in here.
yeah. So I got the hoodie on. Uh, the culture, creativity, and community hoodies. This is the Selling Magazine principles. The hat, the beanie. I must have done deleted the shirt off here, but you also can get the shirts. All of them are in different colors. So now that we got that out the way, so let's get into the discussion at hand. What everybody comes here to for today. We want to talk. We're going to be highlighting four, I'd say, powerful, inspirational, and impactful women, you know what I'm saying, who have made major contributions, and have left a legacy that we're still speaking about. Some of them that you might have heard of before, and some of them that you may not have heard before. So, let's get into it. So, go ahead, Sean.
I want to ask Dr. Wade because I love the part of our podcast that we have. Every month we take turns taking the wheel. leading off with a topic or a subject matter, and we all get on board with it. So I want to ask Dr. Wade, how she made this particular choice and this angle and the setup, how that came about.
Thank you. With it being last month being Women's History Month, that was our focus, highlighting women or finding, bringing light to women who have made some type of impact, some type of major contribution to the movement, to the community, culture, all those things. And so what I kind of found in my journey is that we really don't do a deep dive into women's studies, and we could, and there's room for that. So that's what this is about. This episode is about, and I liked the telescope perspective because we really, again, don't take a deeper dive into the women's lives who actually really and truly were committed to our culture and in various ways. And so we're bringing a lesson to you today. You're going to be blessed. You're going to learn something for real. This won't just be like a one-liner that you weren't learning about each woman. You're actually going to learn and get a full-out lesson, okay? Because we are teachers, a full-out lesson into 4 amazing women. So you'll leave more edified, you'll leave more knowledgeable and more seen. As a woman, if you're out there, you'll feel more seen. And as a man, if you're out there listening, you'll feel more connected to the women in the community and history that have done amazing things. So that's the premise of this episode. I'm so excited. Can't wait to learn and then bring you guys some information. So this should be a good one. Get your libation on deck. Whatever you got going on, keep your feedback because you're going to learn. And this is going to be an unforgettable episode. I cannot wait to bring it to y'all.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right. So who wants to go first? It don't matter. I can go. Whoever want to go, it doesn't matter.
I'll be the lead off batter this time. I'll lead off.
All right.
Go ahead, Sean.
All right. So I love for the past probably 8 to 9 years discovering different women in history that we barely ever hear about. And I try my best every time to find somebody that's not really a known name already. So this time I have the sister, Laura. I believe her middle name is Adakor. Her last name is Kofi, right? And she was a part of the Marcus Garvey UNIA movement. Now, I found about her from the book called The Efficient Womanhood. And this book is all about the women of the UNIA movement, how much they did well beyond Marcus Garvey. And she is no exception, right? So her global perspective, she was born in the Gold Coast. So she bridged the gap between Africa and the diaspora. She was a connecting bridge between Africa, the West Africa, and the diaspora, right? Also, her UNIA leadership. She was a powerful field organizer for Marcus Garvey UNIA movement. She had a whole southern tour. She traveled through Florida, Alabama, and Georgia, mobilizing with her magnetic presence. So she went through all of these states, organizing and getting more and more members to join. As we all know, the UNIA movement had millions of members, even internationally. Cuba.
Without the internet. I'm just saying, just highlighting that this is without the internet. This was without cell phones. He said millions. There was chapters all over the world. But go ahead.
Yeah. And I'm mad about being in Louisiana my whole life and not hearing about the UNIA influence in New Orleans and all over Louisiana. I never hear about that from nobody. Zero. You know what I'm saying? So, that's an example, right? What you just said. Next, her pillars of oratory. So she had a unique rhythm in her preaching style that it uses powerful linguistics to stir up the spirits and the social mobilization of the people to raise up their social consciousness. So her tone, her cadence, and her rhythm, she had this way with words, man, that really, really stirred up thousands of people come and see her speak, right? She was big on economic autonomy. So she was always about black business lead. And she was always about direct commercial trade routes with the African continent, right? And lastly, her spiritual agency. So she founded her own African church. Through the UNIA movement, she founded her own church, right? Very African-centered. right? And so last, the most amazing part to me, the most amazing and tragic part, right? So her martyrdom in her memory on March the 8th, 1928, way before Malcolm X, she died in a way that's very much like Malcolm X. She's at the podium at this grand speech, thousands of people. This is in Miami, Florida. She was gunned down behind the podium.
Mm.
When I read it, I'm like, bruh, how could this be? Just like Malcolm X. And a lot of people think that, unfortunately, Marcus Garvey, UNIA, had a lot of infighting going on, kind of like the Nation of Islam. And a lot of folks speculate that there was some people on the inside that went ahead and, they felt she was getting too big for her britches and she was overstepping and she was getting too many members. And just like Malcolm X, you get more powerful than the leader, that kind of a situation. And she was taken down, unfortunately. Now look at this. She had over 10,000 people at her funeral. One of the biggest gatherings in Jacksonville, Florida history. Now, mind you, in the military, I was stationed in Jacksonville, Florida. Again, never heard about this, never knew about this, nothing. So this is the sister, Laura Kofi, Kofy. Go and write her name down, look her up, find that book, The Efficient Womanhood, man. That book is filled with tons of women. You've never heard these names in your life. Never, never, and never. With that being said, that's my portion. It's to my lovely cast.
All right, man. See, and that's what I'm talking about. We always learning, you know what I'm saying? As we teaching, we learning. And my brother, he's also relearning too. As you teach, and you learn yourself twice. You teach once to the person or the people who is listening, and then you're also teaching yourself by executing and conveying the information or assimilating the information, right? So he is teaching twice, man. So shout out, you definitely go look that sister up. I'm definitely gonna do some more research on her as well, man. And it's sad that we don't talk about a lot of these things, man, in our schools, or not even just in our community, right? You know what I'm saying? So um yeah, it's sad. We should be knowing about some of these brilliant and intelligent, people, you know what I'm saying, who
And
has been, uh-huh.
you know what's sad, Kofi? We got Black History Month, and then we got Women's History Month back to back, right? So we got two chances. We have thousands of amazing people that did so many things. Why every year is the same old names over and over? Not saying no disrespect to them. That's not my point. But it's so bad to be learned.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's why our own personal studies got to be so deep because you're going to only get so many things off of these DVDs, off of these documentaries, off of these platforms. You only gonna get so much. You got to go and find yourself and down that rabbit hole, man.
Yes, indeed.
Sean, you
Yeah.
said something important right there, personal study. And I think that's the drawback of the average person. They're not going to go find out new information. They want to regurgitate because they feel like that bit of information is the most important. And it's important, to your point, don't get me wrong. But there's so many more people, men, women, a lot, like a lot. And we have to pay it attention, for the history to be alive and for it to come alive. So that was an excellent point that you called out. And also too, I can't wait to do some more research on her or to even like find out more about her and connect with her, because what we'll see too in this episode is likely a running theme of when the woman gets too big for her britches, or she gets, too known, or she's too far in the front, or she's too loud, fast forward to today, or then, we got to suppress that. So I really hate that the way that she passed away, but that just speaks to the testament of how powerful, literally powerful that she was. So thank you, Sean, for sharing that.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate you. LaDarius, you want to go next, or you want me to go and jump in?
I want you to go ahead and jump in, Kofi.
All right, dude.
Hey,
Ain't no problem. Let me do this real quick. I want to play. Let me see if I can go to it. Mm, here we go. I'm gonna play this real quick. I'm gonna be doing something on the sister. Let me on the sister. I'll put a photo up in just a minute. Her name is Wangara Mathia. She is from Kenya, right? Nairobi, Kenya. But here's the clip I want
What
to
we do not
play of it.
understand is that we humans are only part of this ecosystem. And when we kill part of this system, we are killing ourselves. That's what we need to understand. That this ecosystem must remain as it is. It must be sustained because in its survival depends our own.
That's deep.
Wanted to play that because uh, she has a story, and stuff that we may gloss over or don't think that it's important. It is important. So she was a environmentalist, right? She understood the importance of the environment, the importance. Sean, internet must keep. He'll get back on here in a minute. The importance of the environment, right? So there was an issue. There was a problem going on in uh, in East Africa, right? They was the British colonized Kenya, and as the British colonized Kenya, they began to deforest the forest, right? So they began to cut down the trees in East Africa, all over Africa. People started colonizing. They wanted to start building different things so to benefit the colonizers. So they started deforesting the forest, right? And she understood the importance of having trees, right? So that she's talking about right there. I wanted to show that clip where she's talking about the ecosystem and how important it is and how important that ecosystem is for our survival, right? And she understood that. And there was a lot of issues going on in Africa, particularly when we're talking about deforesting the forest, right? The forest or the trees in the forest is the lungs of the earth, right? So she understood that. So if you deforest and start cutting down trees, trees are important because trees, it provides us with oxygen. It provides humans and animals with shelter. It grows plants. It grows food. It grows herbs for medicine. So, and by you deforesting the land, she understood that it was detrimental to their society. So, if you start cutting down a bunch of trees to build other things on it, you can erode the ground. You know what I'm saying? The ground can become barren. It can become dry. So now the land is not producing water. That's why we see a lot of issues in Africa where people have to go in and build water wells because of the deforesting. You know what I'm saying? Colonizers coming in and cutting down the trees. So that is an effect when you're deforesting the forest and cutting all the trees down to build certain things. Now the land becomes barren. It becomes erosion where you can't grow food. They can't grow food. They can't even produce water, you know what I'm saying, so they can clean, they can cook, you know what I'm saying, they can cook with, etc., etc. So she knew the importance of that. Let me throw the sister up here again. Wangara Mathia, right? And she um like I said, she was from the Kikuyu tribe. There's a lot of different ethnic groups in Kenya, but the most popular is the Kikuyu, and then the second is the Luau. But she was a part of the Kikuyu tribe, and she was born on April 1940th in a village of Ite, Niar district in the central highlands of the colony of Kenya. Her family was Kikuyu and the most populous ethnic group in Kenya and have lived in the area for several generations. Around 1934, Mathia moved to a white-owned farm in the Rift Valley near Nakor, where her father had founded work. Later in 1947, she went back into Athar, where her mother and two of her brothers were attending a primary school in the village, and there was no schooling available on the farm where her father worked. Her father was still at the farm shortly afterwards she joined her brothers. at a primary school at the age of 8, right? So she went on later on. She got what their she went to a school in the United States. She came to the United States, right? And when she came to the school through the United States, it was through it was through the Kennedy Airlift Program. This program that brought hundreds of students from East Africa to the United States and Canada to support many North America educational institutions, foundations, and individuals, including Harry Belafonte, Jackie Robinson, Sidney Poitier, and Martin Luther King Jr. also was someone who helped fund the Kennedy Airlift Program to provide better education for people in East Africa. So she was a part of that program, and she came to the United States. She went to school and she got a bachelor's degree in biological science from Mount St. Scholastic College, and this is in Kansas. Then she got another degree in science from the University of Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh while she was here in the United States. Now, while all of these things was going on, Wangara Maathia, she seen a lot of things that was going on that inspired her. One was the civil rights movement. Another one was the resistance against the Vietnam War, right? So she's taken and she's seeing all of these things, these black folks protesting, speaking out against injustice, speaking out against a war that they did not want to be in, speaking out against human rights, civil rights, and so forth. So she's seeing this as she's here in the United States and she's going to school. Later in 1971, Wangara she went back to East Africa, right? And she became the first of a lot of things, Wangara. So she was the first person to get her doctrine. She was the first person to have a PhD in East Africa, the first woman. It says in Africa general, but also in East Africa, she was the first woman to get her doctoral or her PhD degree at that time. This was in 1971, right? She also became she became the chairman of the National Council of Women because she was also fighting for women's rights as well. So she was an advocate for women's rights, right? So she became a chairman of the National Council of Women in East Africa, right? So as she begins to get all these different degrees, right? She begins to Maathia continued to teach in the role, but she became a teacher. She became a senior lecturer in the anatomy in 1975, a chair of the Department of Veterinary Autonomy in 1976, an associate professor in 1977. She was the first woman in Nairobi appointed to all of these positions. You know what I'm saying? She was the woman in Africa for a lot of things. During this time, she campaigned for equal benefits for the women working the staff in the university, going so far as trying to turn the academic staff association of the university into a union and negotiating for benefits. So the women was getting underpaid at this university. So she was fighting for more rights for them to be equally paid as the men being equally paid. And she accomplished that later on in life. She was able to accomplish that where women was able to get paid. One girl was, she also found a movement called the Green Belt Movement in 1977, empowering rural Kenyan women to combat deforestation by planting trees while earning an income. She first started a business and it fell through. And this business was to empower, but also give an income to the women in East Africa to start planting trees. Because this is the time where she started to understand why they was going through a lot of the things that they was going through and they was suffering because of the deforestation, right? So she began to create the Green Belt Movement, and through the Green Belt Movement, she was able to employ other women to start planting trees, right? And they planted over 30 million trees in Africa. This movement sprung not only through East Africa, it went to West Africa, Central Africa, not East Africa, Central Africa, West Africa, North Africa, and etc. People started planting trees because they started understanding this is a detriment to us by letting colonizers come in and other people come in and deforest, the forest, and cut trees down where the land become barren, where we can't produce water, we can't produce food, and again, trees are for shelter. It is for shelter, not only for humans, but also for animals. Trees and stuff is also, you can plant food and fruit and herbs for medicine, etc. And it also produces oxygen for us to be able to breathe. Go ahead, Sean.
I love to always connect these cultural dots, right? Talk about deforestation. A movie like Avatar shows that whenever the colonizers come
Mm-hmm.
and they want to take all their resources and take all their trees and knock down this and that. But of course, in cinema, they make the people all blue and you get caught up in the fantastical, not realize the actual roots of the story. These are our, native traditional stories
Mm-hmm.
dealing with these colonizers. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. So in 1986, she funded from the UNEP the movement expanding through Africa that led the foundation of Pan-African Greenbelt Network. So that's what I'm saying. Pan-African, we know Pan means all, unifying Africans all the way around. So that's what I'm talking about. It inspired other Africans in other African countries, right? 45 representatives from 15 African countries traveled to Kenya over the next 3 years to learn how to set up similar programs in their own countries to combat uh, this this certification, deforestation, water crisis, and rural hunger. The attention that the movement received in the media led to Mathieu being honored with numerous awards, right? In 1989, Mathieu protests wrote a letter to stop massive constructions of foreign investors to build a park space to house 200 cars and 60 storage Kenyan Time Media Trust Complex. So she put on a protest. This was something that she's seen in the United States during the civil rights movement, protesting. So there was people coming in this park that they call the Uhuru Park, which is a Swahili word. Uhuru means freedom. The Freedom Park. It wasn't the Freedom Park at this time. She hosted many protests there, and through the media coverage and letters and stuff, she was able to stop this skyscraper and this um, parking lot, 200 parking lot garage being built, in this park and cutting trees down. She was able to stop that, right? But through that, there was many other protests that she did there where she was protesting for a political war. And by this time, when she's standing up for the ecosystem, protesting against deforestation, people cutting down and trying to build things in, she was beating. She was jailed. She was in prison. She lost her job. Remember, I said that she was a professor at a university. She was a teacher. She was a lecturer. She lost her job fighting and protesting for the deforestation, which again was causing water not to be produced, food to not be produced, etc., land being barren, soil being evasion, etc., which was causing so many different things. And now we kind of get a gist of some of those things that we used to see on TV. They're talking about feeding Africans and stuff. This is why some of them was in hunger, because of certain things that was happening on that in that country through deforestation, which was causing them to be hungry. They can't produce their own food. They keep drinking water, all these different things. So she stood on the front line, and through all the things that she did, they also at this park where she protested a lot, Freedom Park, Uhuru Park, they wanted to name the park after her. I wish they would have named the park after, because that park wouldn't have existed if she wouldn't have stood and protested and fought against those foreign investors trying to come in, cut trees down, obliterate certain things in the park and build these skyscrapers in this park as to which one gonna benefit them was gonna benefit the investors, right? You know what I'm saying, and align their pockets with money, right? So Mathia went on. She was in 2004. She won the Nobel Peace Prize. She was the first African woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize, right? I want to share. Let me share my screen. I want to show y'all something real quick, and I'm gonna end. Um, let's see. Windows. See you. Let me do it. All right. No one share the whole window. Y'all let me know if y'all can see my screen.
Yeah, we got it. We got it.
All right. Let me know if y'all can see these pictures once they come up. Are y'all able to see this picture right here?
Yeah.
All right. This is Wangara Mathia. She's receiving the Nobel Peace Prize right here. This is another one where she has the Nobel Peace Prize medal and etc. She's holding it up right there. Uh, Here's another. She's doing a lecture. She's speaking at the Nobel Peace Prize uh, event, right? This is her right here. Uh, See her right here. Here's her right here waving at 3,000. They invited 3,000 children from Save the Children organization to also be there while Wangara Maathia received the Nobel Peace Prize. Right. Let me stop sharing my screen right here. Let me go back over here. All right. Stop sharing my screen right there. But she went on to win. She won so many different awards. She won the Sophie Prize Award in 2014, the Petra Kelly Prize for Environment Award in 2014, the Conversation Scientist Award in 2000 because she was a scientist in 2004. She won the J. Sterling Morton Award in 2014, the Wongo Environment Award in 2003, Outstanding Vision and Commitment Award in 2002, Excellent Award from Kenya Community Abroad in 2001, the Golden Ark Awards in 1994, the Julie DeHosta Award in 2001, the James Academy Leadership Award in 1993, the Edmund Medal in 1993, the Hunger Project African Prize for Leadership in 1991, the Goldman Environment Prize in 1991, the Woman of the World in 1989, Windstar Awards for the Environment in 1988, the Better World Society Award in 1986, Right Livelihood Award in 1984, and the Women of the Year Award in 1983. Professor Mathia was also listed as the UNIP Global 500 Hall of Fame and named one of the 100 heroines of the world, right?
And guess what, Kobe?
Mm-hmm.
I have never heard this before in my life. Until just now, I have never heard this name in my
Yeah.
life. That's sad. That's
Yeah.
sad.
Yes, man. This woman done so much. Let me put a photo back up here again real quick. But this woman done so much, man. Wangara Mathia, right? She passed a while back here. She had cancer. She passed of cancer, but this woman done so much, and she was recognized. So that's the good thing about she did all the work, and everybody recognized her contributions that she made to the world, to her society, to the culture. So shout out again to Wangara Mathia. Also, if you want to see a full presentation on this, I did a presentation on her about 4 or 5 years ago. It's on this channel right here. So you just go back in the archives and look. I did a 45-minute presentation on her. It's not a long presentation. I go a little bit more in depth on Wangara and her story. She also was an author. She authored several books. I got a lot of information. I read her memoir. Her memoir is called Unbound, the Wangara Mathia memoir, right? So if you want to check out that book, that's a powerful book. Some of the books, you can get. Some of the books you can still get, but I can't read French. You know what I'm saying? So some of it was written in French, and we know why they, they wrote certain things in French, due to being colonized by the British. But go ahead, Sean, you had something.
That's important too because I saw KRS once say a long time ago on the podcast. He said that we got to all learn different languages because so much of our history is in a whole different language.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine all the thousands and millions of books we have in the U.S. to be read, our history, but all our stuff over there that's in French and other languages that we can't read.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine getting that history, like, bro. That's a crazy concept.
Yeah, it's important because if you understand translation and transliteration, you know what I'm saying, you can lose it through translation when you translate it out of the target language into a speaking language that you speak. So that's why I started learning and dabbling in different languages so I can kind of understand. Even when we go to the biblical narrative, I tell people if you don't speak Aramaic and you don't speak Hebrew, you can't get a gist when you start going in those books in the Old Testament. If you don't speak Koine Greek, because the New Testament was written in Koine Greek, you start to lose the translation, and then we start to, translate it into other different, different things. Right, even with the African languages and stuff, you have to understand the different African languages and stuff, because we'll start superimposing the English language and the culture onto, what I'm saying, that culture. So it's important to understand the languages, what I'm saying, because the language is the DNA of the culture, what I'm saying. So it's important to understand those languages that they speak in. But that concludes my part of Wangara Mathia. All right, all right.
I gotta follow
And
that.
it was really the list of awards for me. Like I was blown away. It was like this one, that one, this one, that one. And I can really appreciate that because there are a lot of women in the United States that barely get recognized for doing incredible work. So to know that, even though she was from Africa, she got all the notoriety and she was actually seen for the work and appreciated and acknowledged for the work that she did. That means a ton. Like that puts a battery in my back right now because we have to work so hard over here to get recognized and barely that, you know what I'm saying? So like, I love that she was able to get her flowers while she was alive, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, through all of it, she was inspired by the civil rights, what I'm saying, movement when she came over here to the United States to go to school in Kansas and Pittsburgh. But go ahead, Sean.
I got a controversial statement. Love to say we don't do it for recognition and we don't do it for the accolades and we don't do it for the whatever. Then we gonna stop this. We all work hard. Yes, I want to be recognized for the work. Yes, I do. Leave Sean P. Yes. Before I get off of this planet, if my name on a t-shirt, yes, I want to be able to smell the flowers. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna stop all this being humble. Oh no, I don't care about that. Yes, I do. Damn it. But that's just me. That's not Dr. Wade. That's not Kofi. It's not LaDarius.
I mean, we all do.
They're not responsible for the world. That's me though.
But we all do. We all want to be recognized for the hard work that we put in. We definitely do. We all do. You know what I'm saying? I know we want to be recognized for the hard work, but I'm not gonna push it off on nobody. I'm gonna just let the work speak for itself. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully it affects somebody. You know what I'm saying? It affects somebody where they want to mention my name. And that's what we need to all get back to, because we lost our culture when we talk about ancestor veneration. That's what ancestor veneration is all about. Dr. Wade talked about libations a while ago. We talk about pouring libations. We're talking about respecting those who have transitioned, those who've left a legacy, those who left an impact, those who left an example for us to follow, those whose shoulders we must stand on and continue the great works that they started and expound on their works and move their works further into the next century. Right? So, but yeah, we all want to be recognized. We all want to be recognized, but that's what I'm saying. Ancestor veneration, then we can do that, because in order to be an ancestor, you have to been and done all these things to infect positive change and set the right example. Everybody can't be an ancestor, but if you did the work, then your community is going to venerate. Your name is going to be spoken. Your favorite meals are going to be ate. There will be something erected, you know what I'm saying? Some type of edifice erected. That might be in stature. There will be pouring of libations. There will be stories told about you. Those are things that we need to get back to. Then we won't even, we will have to worry about that because we know that's a part of the culture. And we know that once we do those things, our name gonna forever live. We gonna be forever immortal because they're gonna be speaking throughout our offsprings and speaking throughout our communities because we did the work. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead, the next person.
That's gonna be hard to follow, man.
Man.
So at the beginning of my reading journey, which was 2020, like I always wanted to know what was the drive, like what's driving white supremacy? Like, you see what I'm saying? So like, why do they have a thirst for domination? Right. So I was first, today I'm talking about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing.
Let me put that.
I was first introduced to her from another book titled From the Broader File. And that book is talked about her theory, the Cress theory of color confrontation. So Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she was born in Chicago, Illinois on March 18th, 1935. And she was a child of a physician. Her father was a physician. Her mother was a teacher. Her name was Ida Mae Griffin. And she grew up in the middle of three daughters. So she received her Bachelor of Science from Antioch College in Ohio in 1957. And she got her medical degree in psychiatry from Howard in 1962. And she spent 25 years as a staff physician in DC's Department of Human Resources. And then she spent 2 years, she spent a couple of years as a clinical director of 2 schools catering to children with emotional troubles. So we have like decades of experience, right? Providing counsel to students trying to bring a solution to our mental health problems, right? So just get into it. So today I'm talking about her theory that she introduced in 1970. It's called the Cress theory of color confrontation. So we get into like, what is the real root of racism? Not just racism as an individual prejudice, but racism as a global system. Like it's not random. It's not simply about ignorance. So she defines racism. Neely Fuller defines racism, but she expands upon it. So the definition is racism, aka white supremacy. Most people today don't even equate both of those as the same, but we do. So it's a local and global power system structured and maintained by persons who classify themselves as white, whether consciously or subconsciously determined. This system consists of patterns of perception, logic, symbol formation, thought, speech, action, and emotional response as conducted simultaneously in all areas of people activity. Or you might say, what are those areas of activity? The activities are economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Then she goes deeper into biology and psychology, right? She points out a fundamental genetic reality, like melanin, the pigment that produces darker skin. Well, it's 2 types of melanin. You have
Theo and Ura.
Yeah, you have skin melanin, you have melanin in your brain. So basically, she came up with melanin is genetically dominant, and the lack of melanin, what we call whiteness, is genetically recessive. So from this, Welsing proposes something bold, that there is a subconscious fear among white people of genetic annihilation. Right? So if you think about, I think it was like a couple years ago where they reversed Roe versus Wade, right? Which banned what was it? Child abortion, or something like that. But they reversed that Like we need more. We need to have more babies. We need to have more white babies. So then, in other words, if whiteness is recessive, I want you to think about this. If whiteness is recessive, then without control over reproduction and social systems, it could disappear. Not think about that. If a group perceives consciously or unconsciously that its very existence is under threat, what behaviors might emerge? Wilson's answer is clear. It's a global system of control over economics, control over education. That's how we get miseducation, control over media. We see that today, control over politics, and in many cases, control over the bodies and lives of people of color. She argues that racism is not just about dislike, it's about survival strategy. This is why in her framework, racism appears everywhere, across nations, across institutions, across generations. I remember I was at Christmas one year, and I was having an argument. I was having an argument with one of my uncles. We was talking about religion and whatnot. And then I asked him a question. I was like, "So do you think we can ever overcome racism or something like that?" And he said, "No." I was like, "Damn, that shit kind of made me feel some type of way. Like you feel like we can't overcome racism because he said it's evil, da 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 da. We'll never." Basically, I recognized how the system. I recognize the psychological warfare. Basically, I recognize how my religion back then. I don't practice it no more. It was Seventh-day Adventism. So when you get into those type of religions and they it's kind of like I said, controlling mechanism. They feel like we can't overcome this. Like our heaven is somewhere in the sky somewhere. We can't have our heaven on earth. So I recognize the inferiority in his response. And then so what was I? So yeah, so about survival strategy. So it's not chaos, it is a system. So let's be clear, the theory is not without controversy. Critics argue that it leans too heavily on biology, right? So some people don't understand, like if the difference between a white person and a black person, of course it's skin color, but you have two different types of melanin. You have skin melanin, then you have melanin in your brain. But those two things are not connected. Like if just because you white and I'm black, or you light skin and I'm dark skin, doesn't mean that the melanin concentration in your brain is less or efficient. So it simplifies complex histories and social dynamics that it lacks empirical scientific grounding in some respects. And so those critiques matter, because as thinkers, as scholars, as builders, we must always interrogate ideas. But here's what makes Wilson's work endure. It forces us to examine racism not just as a behavior, but as motivation, not just as structure, but as psychology. It asks us to consider, what if racism persists not only because of power, but because of fear? And if fear is at the root, then dismantling racism requires more than policy changes. It requires confronting.
Come on now.
It requires confronting the psychological foundations of the system itself. So I leave you with this. If racism is a system rooted in survival, fear, and control, how do we dismantle it? Is it through knowledge, through economic understanding, economic restructuring, through cultural transformation, through psychological awareness, or is it all of the above? So Dr. Frances Cress Welsing answer is, she doesn't give us an easy answer, but she gives us a lens that challenges us to think deeper, question harder, and see systems where others see isolated acts. And in that sense, the real power of the crest color theory of color confrontation is not just in what it explains, but in how it forces us to think. So her answer is, and it all comes back to unity. Her answer is, the question was the length of time to neutralize global white supremacy. It requires two things. One, the level of understanding of the phenomenon. You have to understand white supremacy and all its behavioral practices. And the second part is the evolution of self and group respect, the will, determination, and discipline to practice the appropriate counter racist behaviors. And that concludes my lesson.
All right, man.
Yes. I want to also say something too. So for those that don't know, I have a master's in psychology. I have a bachelor's in psychology. I've never heard this name in any class in my life. I learned about this name on my own personal studies once again. In no class have I taken in my life have I ever heard her name or any other Black scholar in the world of psychology and, sociology and psychiatric medicine, all the Black scholars that we have in those worlds. You never hear those things at school. So every paper I wrote, I would quote our doctors in my papers. My teachers hated it, but they could do nothing about it. They hated it. You know what I'm saying? Every time.
Yeah. I got introduced to her in 2013 or 14 when I read her book that LaDarius just hold up a while ago, man. This was 2013 or might have been 2014, early 2014. Besides that, I had never heard of her before in my entire life.
So cool. So, you know how I met her? Hidden Colors, Part 1, 2012. Hidden Colors. Yeah. And all these folks hate Hidden Color DVDs. They hate Tariq Nasheed, whatever. There was some top of the line scholars in those documentaries. Mm-hmm. And it did teach a lot of us about people we never heard before in our life. Yeah. And I'm always say that.
Yeah, he on a whole nother thing. He on a whole nother level right now, man, with this FBA stuff, man. I ain't lying. But anyway,
and what I appreciate.
I also want to add too. I also want to add this too. Mm-hmm. When it comes to racism, like the root of racism, she said it's a highly refined form of self-hate. Right? If I hate people that look like me, of course I'm gonna hate people that don't look like me. You see what I'm saying? So
it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate the psychoanalyst, like the physician that's the psychoanalyst, because oftentimes when we are not introduced to the psychology, then that's when we think of racism on a low level. We don't really go the depth. And then also we think, like your uncle, we're not going to be able to win against it. We don't get the psychology. So I definitely, and the manipulation and all the other words, that we can throw into like how our thoughts and things are formed. And I just got on game, maybe like a year, maybe here. I have that book. Haven't read it yet. It's on my list. I cannot wait to read it. And I love that perspective. I love the psychology, this especially the analysis of how people think, and especially about a topic like racism. And I'm inspired by her response about her, her solutions about how we can build ourselves up, because we're not going to curb their fear. We're not going to touch their fear. We may, sometimes they get in their feelings and like, swayed one way or the other about other cultures. But ultimately, that fear is rooted, and it has been for centuries. So we're not going to touch that fear. The point is we have to touch us. So I'm grateful for your presentation, all the presentations, but especially that one right there, because I feel like it's uplifting. It's uplifting to the masses.
Yeah, she gets real, like she gets real deep into it, like even to like. So I'll give you one example in the book she used. Since they are jealous of melanated people, right? And they want to seem as dominant. An example would be the Washington Monument, right? It's shaped like a phallus. And what color is it?
Mm-hmm.
It's white, and they have a law in DC that says you cannot build anything taller than the Washington Monument. Cannot build anything taller than that white phallus. You see what I'm saying? She get real deep into it. So like even like golf, everything. Like how white women desire black men. She gets into.
Oh, come on now.
We read Ida, right? So she gets into why when they was lynching us and burning us, why they was eating us as well. You know, so they know that we are. It's a jealousy thing, and it's a
That's a deep thing, bro. They they was, like you said, they was eating us. They was even grinding up the bodies and using us as powder, because they thought we had this power.
They got that power.
We have this power, man. This thing goes so deep, man. It's her, definitely check out. Amos Wilson is another one. Definitely check out. Dr. Sheikh Auntie Diak is another one. Check it out because
Dr. Wade Nobles.
They all touched on these things.
Amos
man.
too.
So Amos, definitely Amos. He's a Mississippian, you know what I'm saying? I always got to represent Dr. Amos Wilson. But yeah, man, that was good, man.
Well, I said one more thing. I'm sorry. One more thing.
You good?
So when they respond, right? She calls it a reaction formation, which is something that they desire, but they wholly cannot have, which is our skin color, right? So that's why they demonize it. That's why they attach negative connotations to it. So I just want to throw that out there too.
Know that.
And back to that fear, right? I can speak anywhere else, but here in Louisiana, for an example, I see so many of the youth. They don't know all our history, right? So their number of interracial relationships is like skyrocket.
Preach.
So all these people, they seeing their daughters and their sons dating these black children, and it's driving them crazy because they know they're dying faster than us. They're making babies slower than us.
Mm-hmm.
And if this tree keep going the next 20, 30 years, they already said, 2050, it's gonna be a whole black, it's gonna be a brown country.
Yeah.
You see it everywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
You see interracial hand in hand everywhere I go. Like clear as day. Because these kids behind us is way different than we was all taught, you know what I'm saying? And they can't stand it, bro. So their fear of their annihilation is evident,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Dr. Wade is on you.
Hey,
bring it home, sis. Bring it home.
I'm excited. I'm really way deep off in my feelings, and I love how we flowed. From talking about these interracial relationships currently, and especially in small towns. I've seen that, especially in small towns with the young people. And it's because they don't know that their life was on. I mean, had that happened years ago, life would have been on the line. Life would have been gone, taken, lynched by mobs over interracial relationships. So I am so proud to talk to you guys today about my new fave. Okay. Ida B. Wells Barnett. When I tell you she my new fave, like we homegirls, all the things. We homegirls. I'm trying as respectful as I can be. I want to say a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm be respectful, but she is amazing. And she's one of those people that deserved flowers. I'm talking about lifetime achievement awards, etc. But she dealt so much with issues within her own race. She dealt so much with infighting, I guess you would say, because of her intellect, her wit, and her fearlessness. When she spoke, she didn't really give a damn about what y'all had to say on the back end. When she wrote with so much power and conviction. And the first people that she was talking to was us. That's not something that we're used to. So I love, that we are really bringing light to some real change makers that may or may not have gotten their flowers. But Ida B. Wells is one of them ones. And I really want y'all to leave with knowing that about Ida B. Wells and do your own research with all the women, but especially this one right here, because the way that she dedicated her life without anybody asking, without any prompts, with her own guidance from the spirit. She literally dedicated her life to investigative research, investigative journalism when it came to what was going on in our communities and what was going on with these lynchings that were plaguing the 1800s. And I also want to start by saying that I know a lot of times historically we like to look at a particular time frame as Black people in general. We love harping on the civil rights era, that movement, even the Black Panther era, that movement. We love that. That's like a soft spot to us. But I'm definitely imploring you to look at the 1800s. Look at the people that were active in the 1800s, because that's where the movements were. The people that we see as prominent, that we honor and we give a lot of flowers and accolades to today, they real work and their personality and their character development and their accolades, their achievements happen in the 1800s, popping in the 1800s. So we're not going back that far and beyond, but at least in that era, it definitely could use some more telescope vision in that era, so we can kind of see what the heck was even going on really culturally during that time. But Ida B. Wells, she was born July 16th, 1862 in Holly Springs, Mississippi. That's out there where Kofi is. And she died of kidney disease at 68 on March 25th, 1931. And I read something in another book where we need to do a better job of like commemorating our people. Of course, we have national things for like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, even like Black History Month, Black Negro History Week. But even these people that we mentioned today as women, it'd be dope if like we did something special individually or collectively, whatever, to commemorate their birthdays or their death days or whatever, to bring light to their energy. Because these people, these women were so powerful and integral to where we are today and how we perform, how we move. We just don't know. So we definitely need to connect that ancestral piece to these women's lives and keep their spirits at the forefront of our guidance. So let me tell y'all about Ida B. Wells, child. She's mostly known for her newspaper, The Free Speech, in Memphis, Tennessee. And most people know that, if they know anything about her, and they do know that her office was destroyed, burned to the ground because of the work that she was doing, because of the way she was talking that talk. She was the white people in Memphis definitely threatened. So she was traveling out of town for something, and she found out that there was like a bounty on her head. She literally could not come back to Memphis, or they were gonna lynch her. The people was gonna lynch her. And a lot of people know that about Ida B. Wells, because that's the main thing. That's the main one-liner. She had the free, she had her newspaper, she had an office, and it was burned to the ground. But they don't realize that she did way more than that. And that work that she was doing in Memphis, she was in her 20s. She was like in her early 20s. She was just getting started. So again, bringing light to the whole life of the person. The biographies, I love a good biography, but bringing light to the whole life of a person so we can see actually what they did besides the one-liner. But again, like I said, she was in her early 20s. And to me, I'm inspired by that, because in my early 20s, in our early 20s, we do get locked into like the collegiate career. We graduate from high school. Nowadays, we're going to college. But in Ida B. Wells' 20s, she was outside. She was writing. She was just getting started in finding her voice. And the people wanted to respect it. The community people wanted to respect it. But I think it was difficult, because one thing that we as a culture have a hard time doing, and Sean P. like to call this out too, we don't like to look at ourselves. And we don't like to call out our own issues. We don't like that. We like to focus on what other people are doing against us, which is necessary, but we also don't like to be called out by our own. And I respect Ida B. Wells for being brave enough to look at us and call people out in our culture. She was calling out preachers. She was airing people's Listen, this book right here is written very well. This is my primary source. It's called A Sword Among Lions. It's written beautifully by Paula Giddings, but it goes way into the weeds behind the why, the what, when, why. But she was brave enough to do that early in her life, and that characteristic never left her. Like that bravery that she had early in her 20s just got deeper and better as she moved along in her career and in her life. In 1884 in Memphis, She sued a railroad company, the Chesapeake, Ohio, and Southwestern Railroad Company, after forcibly being removed from a first-class whites-only train car despite having a ticket. The caveat to that is Ida B. Wells was the first-class girlie. Like, when she was on her way, she was on her way. I'm talking about the dress, the corset with the petticoat. I'm talking about the gloves, the hat, the umbrella. She traveled like that. And a lot of women, when we look back at that time frame, that's where like the vintage fashion and stuff was coming from. They had their little kitten heels on. You know, they weren't traveling. And I hate to use this word like bum, because again, people like to look at us in that context, but she was really a first-class girlie, and she gave them hell. She sued them. She sure did. And initially she won. $500 was her settlement, but it was overturned by the Tennessee Supreme Court in 1887. But that really like put the battery in her back, because she was like, what? You know, imagine all the support that she got when she was actually winning, and people were like, oh man, Ida B. Wells, Ida B. Wells. And so when they repealed that in Tennessee, that just hyped her up even more. Like, she was ready to continue writing. She was ready to get in the communities more embedded, and travel. She traveled all over the world, definitely all over the country. She traveled all over the country. And I'll talk about how she, you know, traveled to a particular place in the world in a minute. In 1892, she launched her first investigative reporting into lynching when her friends Thomas Moss, Calvin McDowell, and William Stewart were lynched. She knew them. She was a part of the community. She knew them. And Mr. Moss had a grocery store. It was called the People's Grocery. So talking about the whole jealousy piece, this was the beginning of her finding out that the lynchings were not about crime, because, you know, people love to talk about crime and, you know, all those things. The lynchings were about envy. Come on, LaDarius just brought this up. Jealousy and white women. Okay. And so with that being said, that really kind of spearheaded the rest of her life. And she really got into the weeds. And she really was an investigative journalist. She wasn't just on no hearsay stuff. She's packing up and she's on her way. One thing that I love about her is that as she traveled across the country, this book mentions that she was in Kansas. She was like, you know, traveling by train to these places, and everybody loved her, to the point where they was ready to give her a job, real job. Like, if you want to stay, we got you. We'll make sure you have a place to live. We'll make sure you have a job. Like, that's how important she was. And that's the mark that she left in the communities that she tapped into. And I just want to run through a list of organizations that she founded or co-founded. So again, keep in mind, what we know about Ida is typically that one-liner. But the lady was real deep in her bag the older she got, and she founded or co-founded these organizations. The Ida B. Wells Club, the National Association of Colored Women, she co-founded that one. The Afro-American Council, co-founded. This is my favorite. Look this up, write this down. The Negro Fellowship League. When I read this initially in the book, I was like, NFL? Like, what are the odds that she created this league in the 1800s and now it's like, you know, the football situation? So I'm just, you know, finding those similarities and those weird points as I'm doing my research. But the Negro Fellowship League, look into that. She did a lot of like reformative work through that, because what she found is they're going to keep arresting people for not having a job and things like that. And so she was helping people get jobs, giving people a place to stay in this Negro Fellowship League that she created. She also created the Alpha Suffrage Club. So she was creating these clubs when a lot of us, we just want to be a part of something. We want to be a part of these orgs, the Urban League. We want to be a part of it, which is no problem with that. But the point is, she was founding and creating these groups where they would meet and they had their own mission. And people was flocking to them. So I mentioned that because I want people to know that she did a lot of stuff, but then also she created. So if you're sitting on an idea like, oh, I want to create this club, maybe we can do this, especially when it comes to uplifting your people, educating, getting into politics and standing up for people, not just the fluff, not just the title, not just the top heavy bureaucratic organizations, but a real grassroots organization or group, go ahead and start it. And reluctantly, the NAACP. reluctantly, because she was almost left out of that. She was very embedded in the formation of it, but she was almost left out of the being listed and counted in the founding membership. And you'll see that too as you start to get into her life and research her life. People like intentionally wanted to leave her out. She was getting too big for her britches. She was really, really making moves in real life that people wish that they was really making. Anyway, I'm an advocate, so I'm definitely gonna be on her side. She also wrote pamphlets targeting the brutality of lynching. One of them is called Southern Horrors, which I don't have. I'm about to get on all these, first of all. Southern Horrors, The Red Record, which I have somewhere on my shelf, and Mob Rule in New Orleans. So she was really in her journalist bag. At the same time, being at the forefront and being called into these meetings to start these organizations for her expertise in lynching. Now, a lot of that people left her out of, but she was on the ground doing the research. She was on the ground in the communities, because when these lynchings were happening across the country, folks were like, oh, well, it's because they committed a crime. Ida B. Wells would go down there and find out it was really not about crime. It was about some relationship, interracial real relationship that was going on between a black man and a white woman. And another reason why people didn't like her as much, because she was literally calling out white women in the 1800s. She was like, oh, when she started putting two together in a lot of different places and different times, she was like, oh, this is what's really going on. They was going together for real. It wasn't about rape, but that was a major case against black men at that time. So she uncovered that misinformation of that rape piece. She was like, they was just in a relationship. They didn't do nothing wrong. But when it all came out, boom, you know, the black man gets lynched, and they were gruesome with it. It was so nasty. You know, it takes for you to do your research to figure out how disgusting it was. So definitely do your research. I'm almost done. Thank y'all for your time and your attention. And also, she was in her bag with the newspaper. She was on several different newspapers. Hers was the Free Speech and Headlight under the pen name Iola, which I think is cute, where she addresses black issues. She was definitely critical of preachers and community folks, because who else was going to do it? This is something I think is important as well. In 1893 to 1894, she traveled to the United Kingdom to campaign against lynching on the international stage. So again, comparing that to that one-liner that we get, oh, she had the free, you know, she had this newspaper and the building got burned down. No, she was literally invited to London, trips paid for. You know, she was, of course, taking the boats and stuff over there, trips paid for, but she was able to influence their opinion over there. Like, folks was literally bought into the need to protect black women, black men especially, and to sit with the truth about the lynching and the brutality that was going on in the United States. It's hard to get people to hear over here, but she went over there and folks were just eating out the palm of her hands. And that's something good to know about that whole international piece that we talk about with a lot of our leaders. They were definitely tapped in more globally than we are now, for sure. But I love her for that. And I didn't know that. I was very happy to know that she was actually invited. And she traveled to London, and she actually made really good alliances. She actually brought a group of people from London to the United States to actually see how things were going, because people were just appalled that the United States had all this stuff going on. So I love that part of her work. But here's the issue with Ida B. Wells. Folks hated her delivery. They hated that she didn't have a degree. She graduated from college, but she was extraordinarily intelligent, crazy witty, and she loved her people. She stood her ground for black men, and she exposed white women. And she made your favorites real jealous because she was on they necks. She was the competition to be the editor of the Crisis newspaper, which was led by W.B. Du Bois. And she was not a favorite of Booker T. Washington. She wasn't a lot of anybody's favorite. She mine now, but whatever. She wasn't a lot of anybody's favorite. And she was almost left out of being one of the founders of the NAACP. She was added on the back end. So that's why now she is one of the founders of the NAACP, but it was kind of sticky. And all the stories around her were sticky like that. And reluctantly, she was a family woman, believe it or not. She married Mr. Ferdinand Barnett, who was a journalist, a lawyer, and a civil rights activist. And he had his own motion going, which I love about the way that she chose, because she had a lot of suitors. She dated, she did her thing, but I love that she chose somebody that she could admire. She did admire, and he had his own motion going. He became Illinois' first Black state attorney, and he supported Ida B. Wells down to the gods. Do you hear me? He really supported her. When a lot of people were looking around like, oh, you know, that's your wife, you gonna support her being all boisterous and talking all this talk? He was like, yeah, actually I am. And they had 4 kids together, and even the kids learned to admire their mother at a young age. The last thing I'll leave you with right here is do some research on her in Cairo, Illinois. There was a lynching there of Mr. William Fogg James, who was a coal driver. There was also an anti-lynching bill that was passed in 1905, which made it mandatory to remove a sheriff of a county in which a Black man was taken from a jail and lynched. That was the thing. They would arrest these men, put them in jail. The mobs would come get them and then lynch them, burn them, do all the things. So this part of this anti-lynching bill that was passed in 1905 basically said, you can remove the sheriff. And so that's what happened in Cairo, Illinois. Ida B. Wells was at the forefront of it. Her whole family traveled with her to Cairo, Illinois to be a part of this. And she went and she organized the community, and she told them, quote, that she was willing to be their mouthpiece. So I love that part of her character, that she was like, I'll be on the front line. Y'all don't want to say nothing. You're going to lose your jobs. You're going to lose your home, whatever you had. Let me do it. Let me talk for y'all. It was great. And so she ended up getting letters and petitions from over 500 Black people in support of Mr. James, to the point where she was able to speak at the courthouse. Come on, Ida. And the verdict ended up being that sheriff in that town, Sheriff Davis, was not reinstated. And this was a huge victory for Ida B. Wells. There's a lot more to that story. Check it out. Cairo, Illinois, Ida B. Wells. And I'll end right here. My favorite quotes about her was, she towers high above all of her male contemporaries and has the more aggressive qualities than the average man. I'm gonna leave that right there because people want to talk about, feminine, masculine, all that, whatever. But that was a quote that came up about her. Another one is, she is a heroine of her age, and the nation is better off for her having lived in it. These are the real accolades that she deserves. And then lastly, somebody said, long live Mrs. Ida B. Wells, and I felt that all the way in my chest. This book is my main source right here. I'm almost done. I'm not quite done. It is an amazing book. And it's not her autobiography, but it does reference it a lot. Check this out right here. Ida, A Sword Among Lions, this incredible book. And much love to her spirit. Much love to the fact that now I know about her. I can embody some of those qualities and definitely lean into her work. Ida B. Wells.
I want to give a props to something right quick. Dr. Wade, if you can't show that book again, like show it sideways.
The thing thick.
She thicker than the Snickers, right? She thicker than the Snickers. But my point is
600 pages.
Yes.
My point is, when Kofi and I started this podcast years ago, this is a literary podcast. And I'm so proud that Dr. Wade, for I don't know how many months it's been, she is always carrying that book. She is always posting that book. She always reading that book. And I'm saying it because in Bookstagram, in Book Talk, in BookTube, people want to post how many books they read so much. I read 500 books last year, and I read 40 books in 2 weeks. And that's cool if you're doing that. But to really, really take your time and really dig down on something, I really, really admire watching that. I don't know that one other person like that I've met before in my life is really like that. And I really love seeing you doing that, man. It's important.
Okay.
I appreciate that. It's definitely changed my life for real. Like each woman that I've read about has changed my life. But Ida B. Wells has definitely stolen my whole heart. Like that's my homegirl for real. And, she was one of those people who really got it out the mud. And, she pushed forward, even though she got a lot of backlash from her own people. And some of us know some about that.
Yeah. And I appreciate her, for me, then I consider myself a researcher. I am an independent researcher, been an independent researcher for maybe 15 years now. Consider myself a historian. So when dealing with research, we understanding research methodology, understanding it. So the importance of research methodology, you got you know the importance of primary sources, right, and secondary sources, right, especially primary sources. So she would go and travel to these places to get the real story, to get the real deal. So she would go so she will get the primary stories. In order for, and if she didn't do that, a lot of those things that Wanda missed when you saying an interracial relationship with one of them, the brother got hung, and they was painting a narrative. She traveled there to get the real story. She went and got the primary evidence right there to prove that what they saying is a damn lie. This is why this is happening, right? So I appreciate that for her, for traveling to go get prime, because she understood I need to be on the ground. I need to get the real story. I need to be there with the people who was there to see it, the primary people. I need the primary sources. So I got to go to this place. You know what I'm saying, to get it.
Kofi, let's connect that with everything going on right now with war and politics. So many independent journalists are getting canceled. They're getting their pages taken down. They're really on the ground where it's happening there, showing what's going on versus what CNN showing versus what so-and-so showing. You seeing they actual page, they're showing you, man, this happened just a little while ago. They're showing you on the ground and they're trying to cancel them, man. So find as many independent journalists as you can. Support their pages, have where that go. Click on their link in their bio, man, because like Ida B. Wells is doing, we need people on the ground, man. The main news gonna only tell you certain things, bro. They're gonna only tell you certain things.
She was dispelling all the myths, because again, all these lynchings, white people was believing that we were starting shit and that we were raping, our men were raping these women. And so the white women in their groups, they wanted to support black people, but only the ones who were the smartest, the brightest, the whatevers, because in their mind, well, it's the low black men that are doing all this raping, and they were convinced. And so Ida B, a lot of her work was dispelling these myths that there was an issue like that, and it really wasn't. These people went to work, they had families, they may not have been educated, but they weren't starting no mess. They were just trying to work. But the mess was here go the lily whites. And they end up in a relationship. But Ida B. Wells was the first one to be like, these white women are targeting the black men. Didn't nobody want to touch that. This is the 1800s. They was trying to be seen. That was outside. Okay. They wasn't like, oh, okay, I'm doing this, and the black man is looking at me, and that's what's starting the mess. The white women was trying to see what's up. But then nobody want to talk about that, Yeah. And so, like, I honor her for being like, no, this is really how it's happening. And it took white women by surprise. Like, how can she say that? No, we don't. But the whole time they probably was on the same shit. And she was finding out that it was some white women on the same stuff, but they were kind of like behind closed doors with it. But then she would find out, oh, you dating so-and-so on the low? Here we are.
Now, Kofi, this is a great moment for you, Kofi. Yes. I told Dr. Wade and LaDarius in private about this same topic, about the book you wrote when it comes to the black bucks and the Jezebel. There it is. Here we go. And so historically, look at the cover of that book, man. The cover of the book, the image of the cover, Kofi and his wonderful covers he made, it says it all. They've always historically done this.
Yes.
Look at that cover of that book. Look at this man's face, man. The man disgusting.
Yeah.
The man looking like, come on, man, really?
And that dips into that jealousy and envy that come on, that Dr. Francis Cress Weston was talking about, that jealousy, and they were jealous of the men who were able to make businesses. Like Mr. Moss, he was prominent in the community. People respected him, and they couldn't wait to conjure up some bull crap so that they could kill him and burn the business down. And you know what happened? As soon as they lynched him and all that and everything died down, white people went and bought it. That's all. They wanted it. They wanted it. So that jealousy and envy is so rooted in the way that they deal with themselves, and definitely the way they deal with us. And if we knew that, then we would move different as a culture. But we think, well, no, it's not about da-da-da-da-da. We want to water down the racism topic to LaDarius's point, but it's really, really rooted in that. But don't nobody want to talk about it. Thank y'all so much for your time today.
And like you were saying, like you was talking about the women in the book, in my book, Mandingo Theory, that was a theory, the Mandingo theory. They was jealous of the black man or the African man phallus, right? So they put this theory out of black women and black men was over sexualized. So we got to hide our women away from the black man because they're over sexualized, and the women the same way. But I also highlight how the women, the white women on the plantation, went after the African that was on the plantation, and she would do certain things. And if he didn't do it, she would do certain things for him to be killed and be lynched. So this psychology of them, the women wanting us, it's been around for centuries. And the psychology of them thinking, the white man thinking that we are too over sexualized, we need they need to hide their women because we gonna rape them because all we got is sex on our minds, right? But
And
this comes
meanwhile,
from jealousy.
they talking about we need to protect our women, but they was targeting our women. Go figure. Like they made a big deal. We need to protect our women, but y'all going to rape our women for real.
Yeah.
Not hearsay. And she brings that up too. And she talked about that a lot. Like,
Yeah.
okay, let's talk about the real from the fake.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the
And
real
then
from
we
the
teach
fake.
our children. We teach our children that. You know what I'm saying?
You know,
You know, George Washington, hell, he was a slave master. He passed our women on to his counterparts. That were things that they did. They were passing our women around left and right.
So Dr. West also talked about how the white men were mistreating their own women. So that played a role too.
Yes, I
Bring
talk
that
about
to
that
the
in
point.
there. I talk
Bring
about
that to
that in
the
there
point.
too. I talk about how they were losing land. The woman wasn't even respected. If the man would marry a woman whose father had a plantation, the woman wasn't even worthy of having the plantation. And then also with that, the man on the plantation was always cheating on his wife, and they knew about it. That was another reason why the women went after the black name, because they wasn't getting no attention at all. So I talk about a lot of that in the book, man. Psychology behind that book.
Hello.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Come on now.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. I like that lesson.
Yes, indeed, man. Shout out to the podcast. Shout out to the podcast. Anybody got anything else before we close out the show? And I gotta read that book again by Dr. That was 2014 when I read that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Thank you, LaDarius. I gotta tap that book. That's gonna have to be my next. I got
You gotta think about that.
next.
Yeah.
I would just say in closing that I like taking these things, bringing it to current times, right? This is why I hate seeing today's entertainers, celebrities, athletes, or whatever, getting caught up in these things. And it's like, if you only knew the history of this thing, you wouldn't fall for the okie doke so easily, bro.
Sankofa.
And you see it time and time and time on a repeated
The
loop.
Kardashians, you know,
Y'all
all
just go for this stuff left and right. And we see the history of this thing.
Yeah.
Y'all think y'all exist because y'all got money? Like, bro, the rules still apply.
Yes, indeed.
Y'all easy
They're
target,
gonna
man.
They're gonna drain the life out you and your money if you got it.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
You're gonna end
That's
up in
it.
jail, dead, depressed.
Ostracized. All your money
But
gone.
like who
I
you
think
like.
we see it. Mm-hmm.
And that's what Ida B. Wells was not racist, but she was, I mean, that's the thing. And then she was even cool with it. Even when Frederick Douglass married a white woman, she wasn't even tripping. That's your choice. But at the same time, she was like,
how about this? Like who you like. Just don't come crawling back. Like who you like. Just don't come crawling back.
What they say over there.
All right, well, on that note, we go end the podcast, man. I want to say I appreciate everybody that tuned in. I appreciate those who will look at this later on in the archives. I appreciate the co-hosts for laying out, you know what I'm saying, a beautiful presentation and discussion on these intelligent black women. If you're not fond of who these women are, please go look it up, go back, pause it, go look these women up and do your research, you know, on these women. And on that note, man, peace and power. We'll see y'all on the next episode, season 4, episode 3 is in the can. So be on the lookout for season 4, episode 4 coming soon. from four different perspectives and four different worldviews for one discussion. Peace. All right, then we out of here. And I appreciate